This is Blenderstyle, the show where we discuss a blend of heavy and extreme music. On this episode, Pig Destroyer, Phantom Limb. This album was released 2007 on Relapse Records. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
I'm the Pig Destroyer. Yeah, put your elitism away and just listen to it for what it is. So this is my pick. I saw the video for Loathsome back in 2007 when it came out, and I've been a Pig Destroyer fan ever since. I really wanted to make Casey sit through this entire album because I don't think he's a grindcore fan, really.
Oh.
Is this your first time into Pig Destroyer?
Yes. First time deep in the destruction of pigs.
Right.
So, I mean, I've heard it hanging out.
Yeah.
Never really paid attention to it or anything.
What about you, Nate?
The first thing I ever heard by them was Prowler in the Yard.
So I think that's the first album, right?
No, I'm pretty sure they have other ones before it, other releases.
But that's early for sure.
Yeah, and it's a great record. They've always kind of came out with consistently good records. So when this came out, I knew about it.
So you were listening to it, you're like, oh, the next Pig Destroyer album, you were listening to it when it came out?
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's awesome. So this is grindcore, straight up, no nonsense grindcore.
Yeah.
The vocals are like distorted shouting. There's not like guttural death metal per se here. It's more just like constant shouting, and it's like you can't understand a word he's saying at all, really.
I didn't have a problem understanding him. In a lot of
I
this.
think you can understand him very well.
Yeah.
in this.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially this record.
Yeah, that's one thing that surprised me because when you recommended Pig Destroyer, I was like, oh, this is going to be something that's one of those dudes that you can't understand.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised. I could
I have
understand
a hard
probably
time.
90% of this.
It might have to do even how he writes his lyrics. Maybe
Maybe.
it has an effect on like you understanding it actually.
Oh, his timings and stuff?
His
Yeah.
timing and also lyrically, like how he like puts words and stuff. It goes. It's very poetic.
Yeah,
But there's
very-
not like a lot of vocal, like, it's not sing-songy at all. No, he's
not
just
at all.
shouting out these lyrics like one bar after another.
Yeah.
And there's not really
Relentless.
there's not a lot of melody to it at all.
No, I think there's like 2 or 3 change-ups with kind of a melodic
So
thing.
when I was reading the lyrics, and you can understand what he's
Mhm.
saying then, but like for the most part, it's hard to kind of pick up on.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, because the first time I listened to it, I think I didn't understand. But once you read the lyrics, it's mostly because, like Nate was saying, just weird timings on the structure that he puts the lyrics out there.
Yeah.
For this band, I think it's important that you read the lyrics.
Oh yeah,
There's a lot going. This guy writes great lyrics. I'm not a lyrics guy, and I think this is incredible.
Oh, for sure.
His lyrics aren't like super weird. They're just like short little poems that it's really
very-
cool the way he does it. Yeah.
It's very animalistic. It's very primitive. It's very, you know what I mean?
Some of the lyrics are like, they're brutal, like people are getting hacked apart, but
Mhm.
they're also love stories.
There's
for
a
sure.
lot of love story in this album.
Like some of the lyrics are, I hold your hand in mine, your rib cage is open, your legs look so sexy out of context.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
bitchin'.
that's the entire lyric
And you
of the
could-
song, though.
And you can totally understand what he's saying in that too, though.
Right, yeah, right.
When he's performing it and screaming it, that's one that lyrically, like that shit
Mhm.
stands out.
The guitars and drumming on this, the only word I could really come up with was chaos. It's just constant, just shredding, and not shredding like guitar solos, just like hacking away. The
Well-
drums never stop just pounding this like
No, and the guitars do it constantly. They constantly do this weird change up where they'll be going and then they'll change up to something completely different. And the drums just keep going at the same.
There's
same
no
thing.
verse, chorus,
No, there's not.
No.
There's no traditional structure on this.
all the songs are like a minute plus.
Yeah, I think the longest song here is 4 minutes long.
Yeah, the Loathsome's the longest track, which is unnaturally long for grindcore. Most of the stuff is between a minute and 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's really
So
short.
this album's at like 38 minutes. Most
Yes.
of their albums are at roughly 30 minutes.
Yeah,
And, I think there's only like 15 songs on this.
Yeah.
And then before they had like,
20
20 songs
Yeah.
or something. So these songs are definitely put together and a little bit more structured, but not fucking structured.
Mm-mm.
You know what
Right.
I mean? It's chaos still.
Like there's some, like Napalm Death has a song that's like 2 seconds. It's that short.
Mhm.
And like sub 1 minute, like Insect Warfare does like sub 1 minute songs.
Yeah.
So this is kind of long for grindcore. Like some of it's a little lengthier and, like you're saying, more structured.
Mhm.
And it's kind of what makes this stand out, I think.
Yeah.
And then there's like samples and outros. Like they use like clips from I guess movies or in. Like,
yeah,
I couldn't find the source of some of these
movies and some type of I don't know.
It sounds like a church.
I think they just took it from Fear Factory.
So I would say the guitars on this even at times sound like a chainsaw buzzing. Yeah. Like how you said that the riffing is going back and forth.
It's like choppy.
It's grindcore for sure.
So there's like hardcore drumming on this, but it's like the tempo's twice as fast and there's double bass. Mm-hmm. There's like a dash of death metal. But you can't call this death metal. Like that's
no.
And they also have some of their breakdowns, like you guys just said, almost sound like a hardcore. Yeah, like a hardcore.
The drums stop playing. Mm-hmm. You know, the guitar keeps going, and then the drums come back in.
Yeah, exactly.
But the drums are just like fucking crazy, bro. Mm-hmm. Like constant fills and just all over the place with the drumming. Really love the drums on this.
Yeah.
So Nate, what'd you like about Phantom Limb?
I love that it starts and finishes brutal. There's no ease to this at all. It's relentless. The guitar work is great, never stops. The drums, it's nonstop. It's a train. It's brutal, and I love that it's violent. I love that it's poetic. It's a great grindcore record.
So I like the breakdowns and the bridges. There's not very many of them, but when they are, they're really good. The little change ups, even in like the 2-minute songs, they do a lot of different changes throughout it. Kind of makes it cool, keeps the song interesting. I like that Body of Christ clip.
That's the first track.
I still think they stole it from Remanufacture.
What's also cool about this, though, just a little side note, is this is the first record that they actually have the sampler synth guy that they've now had ever since. So this is the first record he was actually involved with.
Oh, that's cool.
And I think, it definitely created a different dynamic for Pick Your Story.
It did. There's some background. There's some stuff that he does in the background that I wasn't aware they had somebody full-time on this album with, but I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But I thought it was just post-production stuff.
Even in the video for Loathsome, the guy playing samples is like in the video, like headbanging. He's like playing those little samples.
He's definitely part of the band.
Core of the band, for sure.
Yeah. So I also like there's some really cool vocal change-ups. Not very many of them, again. Like all these songs are so short.
Yeah, the vocal change-ups are
I feel like
few
the
and far.
longer songs were better fleshed out. And to me, I think they were probably the better songs on this album because it added that chance to change up and do these different things with it.
I agree with you, too.
And like we were talking about earlier, I really feel like the vocals aren't that typical sludge, really deep. You can't understand what they're saying. I think you might have to read through the lyrics, but after that, it becomes pretty easy to understand his enunciation of things, and you can follow along with it.
I also think that the lyrics and what he's saying, I mean, they stay with you. Mm-hmm. So like Cannibal Corpse, like you might not understand everything he's saying, even though you can understand a lot, both vocalists. But when you really read the lyrics, you're like, wow, this is...
Well, that's a good comparison because like George Corpse Grinder, Fisher, and Cannibal Corpse, he's enunciating everything very articulate.
Yeah.
And this is just shouting distorted stuff, but it's not like that rapid fast either.
Yeah. Well, I was making a comparison of the actual lyrical content.
Right, okay.
So like when you read it the first time, you're going to remember it the next time.
Right, it's so fucked up.
Well, and it kind of
and most people, when they read the lyrics, you're reading along with the song, I would hope.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and then kind of touch on what you guys touched on earlier, that whole love story. A lot of these lyrics are about love or whatever, or love and loss.
Love and loss,
but then
like kind
of the slur jacket, dude.
Yeah, but then they throw this like almost like it's trying to be vulgar just for the sake of being vulgar in there. Mm. And that's what makes you remember it. Because like you said, you could read it and you could read a love story.
And it's like twisted.
And you're like, oh, cool, a love story. But you read a love story where at the end, like you said, ribcage open in front, and you're like, oh, okay. And you'll remember it.
It's a good comparison to Cannibal Corpse lyrics because, they are brutal and horrific and stuff, but this is 1,000 times better than Cannibal Corpse lyrics.
Well, for sure. I was just making
Cannibal Corpse is just dudes like, how can we make this as fucked up as we can?
But you remember those lyrics, though. You know what I mean when you read it?
Oh, yeah. That's
you know what I mean?
I know all the Cannibal Corpse lyrics.
Yeah. So, that's what I mean. I'm making you want to remember these lyrics.
I see what you mean. Yeah, for sure.
When I see this live, not only am I going to be losing my shit, I'm going to be trying to grab that mic. I'm going to be that asshole, you know?
Yeah, no. So kind of like what you guys said, the Cannibal Corpse lyrics are shock factor for the fact of being shock factor, where they actually work with it. You know, it tells the story.
Yeah.
For me, same thing with you, Nate. This is fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Like it's relentless, getting kicked in the face, and then it lets up just long enough to let you breathe and catch your breath, and then it starts kicking you in the face again. The first half is just vicious.
Oh, yeah.
And then the second half starts to get interesting, like almost weird. Like you're like, what is going on? And then it goes all the way to the outro, like hidden track, and it's just like, how did we get here? It works, though.
It does.
I almost kind of, I'm not sure if this is how they did it, but it's almost kind of like they started writing these, like, the first song on the album is probably the first song that they wrote. And it just kind of, like, grew into this, you know, beast. That's how I would
like the first track is like, it's like straight up, right? Grindcore. And then Loathsome's really long, but it's like a great track. And then after that, it kind of starts getting a little weird, the album. The album plays like a horror film to me. This is like watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You know, the things are like brutal right off the bat, right? Kind of unnerving. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And at the end, it's just like, you know, AM radio.
That's a great comparison. I love that.
And then that song Loathsome is just a masterpiece. A lot of people argue it's not even grindcore because it's like too long or whatever. It's a masterpiece. That song is brilliant.
You're always going to hear people bellyache about shit. And when this record came out, I just remember my friends being like, "Oh, it's too long," and not liking it, you know. But now I talk to those friends, and they fucking love this record.
Right.
They just needed time to listen to it again.
Yeah,
and
put your elitism away and just listen to it for what it is.
And I love that Big Destroyer is willing to kind of change it up and do different things, you know? I mean, they've done that with almost every record they come out with.
Yeah, I like the fact that they're a grindcore band, but they're not stuck strictly in grindcore.
Yeah.
They did that EP, Mass and Volume, which is not grindcore at all. It's like doom metal, and it's
sludge, like droney. And
like long. It's like 17, 20 minutes.
I love that they could venture off and do something like that.
And maybe that's why I think the longer songs on here are better, because they kind of draw out that they don't stick to that one just grind or sludgy grindcore. They kind of bring a little bit of everything in it, kind of mix it up. It's really cool.
And I have a feeling, not sure if it is, but I have a feeling that those longer songs are probably some of their favorite songs on this record.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe they were just like, you know, we're going to do it.
Well, kind of touch on like what you said. Like they started out, they wrote the first song first, and then they kept this jam session going. And towards the middle, they kind of maybe got tired. And like, well, let's just play around with this, and let's play around with this. And then by the end of it, they were skipping through a field together, holding hands.
Yeah, right? Well, like I definitely think this record...
Except the hands were like dismembered.
Well, I didn't say they were holding each other's hands.
They were out of context.
Right. Oh, nice.
Yeah. But they definitely, it sounds like they had something going. Like there was probably an energy between these guys that was going to make this album. And I just love that about this record.
What did you dislike about it, though?
You know, I don't have anything bad to say about this record. I think it's a good record. I think if I said anything negative about it, I would just be lying or reaching for something. So I think this is a great record.
I'm kind of the same. Like, there's nothing I don't like about this. I try to reach and think maybe the vocals get grating, but I don't. I love that they're the same like the whole way through, and it's destruction the entire time.
Yeah.
What about you, Casey?
So I didn't have to reach for dislikes on this. This one had some straight up dislikes right off the bat. Number one, the songs are too fucking short. Like, they're good, the structure's good, but I feel like just as you get into it, it's over and you're on to the next one.
Like you're reading the lyrics, and before you finish reading the lyrics,
I don't even care about the reading the lyrics, because like I said, the lyrics you could read through once, like Nate said, and you could have the whole song memorized because they're short. They're to the point. Even on the longer songs, there's not a lot of lyrical content on these.
True.
But I feel like once you just start getting into the groove of the song, it's over and the next one starts. Which brings me to my second dislike. The songs, there's no space in between them, and they just run together. So I'm still sitting there on the lyric page going, oh man, that was pretty cool. And then you start singing again, and I'm looking at the lyric page. Where the fuck am I in the lyrics? I'm on the next damn song because there was no pause, no stop. The pacing's the same.
Can I say something about this since you're bringing this up? What I love about it is it kept me hard the whole time. Like it played with me.
You're saying this is a negative and I can't stop smiling. I'm like, yes, dude.
Yes. I like that after that record happened, after you listen to this, you're like, man, I want more. And you know what you do? You just flip it back over and you listen to it again.
That's exactly my point. My negative isn't that it does that. It's that it's so fast, you're like, well, that was fucking pointless.
It all runs together on purpose.
Well, that was a waste of 14 seconds of my life. Now I gotta listen to it again. Yeah. So, I mean, nothing... I'm with you guys. There's nothing super negative about this album. It's a good album. I just really wish it was longer because I feel like the longer songs on this are the gems on this that really stick out and stand out and show their songwriting ability, not just on their instruments but on the lyrics and stuff too.
I agree with what you're saying. I think Loathsome's a great track, but for me this plays as you have to listen to it as an album. Like the individual songs are out of context compared to how it plays in the whole album.
Well, and the album's so damn short that if you don't listen to it as an album, you
just put it on as an album.
It's like as soon as you hit play on it and walk away, you have to go skip to the next track anyway.
What'd you give it for a rating?
So I gave this a 3.2 out of 5.
Dang, that's cool.
There's definitely songs I would listen to again, but as a whole, I couldn't wait for it to be over just because it was so short.
That's funny.
So all the shorter songs, like I said, run together because they're so short. The long songs are great. There's enough time to process this thing. It's over before it starts, and it leaves you kind of going,
what happened?
Did I just listen to anything?
Yeah.
And so I feel like after about, like, the first time I listened to this, I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to listen to this 3 freaking times. This is horrible. But by about the 4th time, I was like, I want to listen to that again.
Because you're starting to pick out what's kind of going on.
Well, and it wasn't necessarily that I didn't pick it out at the first go. It was just so short that I was like, what was the point? It almost felt like just kind of a waste of time because it was so quick and so short that I was just like, well, it was kind of pointless. But then, like you said, as you listen to it more, you start picking out the little things, like the little change-ups and the little vocal like phrase and styles that he uses. It makes it really good, and these guys are talented as fuck.
Oh yeah, for sure. And what's you know how you touched on like it being like short, and you know you wanted it to be longer and stuff. It's like, but yeah, that's the point. It's like the exact opposite of somebody making something too long because it shouldn't be too long. You know what I mean? This is
a lot of grindcore is short for the sake of being short, like that Napalm Death. That's 2 seconds long. That's not musical. It's just short.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I picked out a lot of stuff out of this, and I liked it.
Yeah. So I'm kind of the same way. It wasn't bad. I think this is a lot better than some of the other albums that we've done. But yeah.
You rated it higher than I thought you were going to rate it.
Me too.
And honestly, the first time through, I think I had this like a 2.8 or a 2.5. And I was like, oh, that's disappointing. And then as I listened to it more and more, I mean, I had an hour to kill. I got through it like 20 times. But yeah. So what did you rate this, Nate?
I would rate this a 5.0.
Wow.
Nice.
I think this is a perfect record. I love that I can listen to it 4 times a day and not get tired of it. And I haven't listened to this record in a long time, actually. I do always go back to Prowler in the Yard. But what's really weird is I like this record more as a record.
Me too.
You know what I mean? I don't know why that is. I don't know why that is. But 5.0, man, this is a perfect record in my book, and everyone should go try out Pig Destroyer.
Nice. What about you, Matt? What did you give this thing?
I also give it a 5.0 out of 5. This is soul food for me. This keeps me from putting my fist through walls. It keeps me from veering into traffic with my car and murdering everyone I can. This album's perfect. It's fucking...
dude.
Double fives. We got double fives.
Man.
That is crazy, man.
This album...
5.0, man.
Perfect. It's perfect as far as I'm concerned.
It's almost like I couldn't even talk about it enough that it was that good, you know?
I listen, like you're saying, you can listen to it 3 times, 4 times a day. I do.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I'm pissed off, I can put Phantom Limb on and it just really scratches that itch for me.
That artwork even...
Oh, yeah, I wanted to touch on that. Was one of my likes too. Like the artwork on this was cool.
Oh man,
it's by that dude that's in Baroness.
Okay,
he does all the Baroness artwork. He's a great artist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And he does the artwork for Phantom Limb.
Yeah, the artwork on this was really cool.
No, this is a perfect album. It's great.
I would agree with it 100%. Perfect album.
This is Blenderstyle. That was Pig Destroyer, Phantom Limb.
Even a loving God is still a blender.